Good afternoon. It's Heather Doyle Fraser, and I'm here today to do our afternoon pick-me-up. I'm going to start with a reading, or two readings, from my book, 40 Weeks, A Daily Journey of Inspiration and Abundance. I just opened this up and came to week 20, day 4, and week 20, day 5, a time of allowing. So week 20, day 4. Where is your peace and calm today? We search and search for this elusive place, only to find that it is not outside of us. Contentment is not a rolling green meadow where we finally arrive, polished and clean, and ready to greet the day. It is a place we come from, a place that on the surface might appear messy and complicated, but when you look deeper, is just as it should be, simple and whole, unfettered and free. I love that one for me today. And then week 20, day 5, go against the grain. Focus today on just one thing at a time. Allow your intuitive wisdom to take over your multitasking hands and mind. Notice how it feels in your body and heart to live in the present moment. I think these go really well together today because right now I feel like a lot of us have all this, what feels like chaos in our head. At least I do. I have, sometimes, some days I don't, but a lot of times I do, and it's just kind of swirling around and everything. And to know that at my core, there is a place that is not in that chaos place, and that I can come back to that again and again is really a helpful reminder to me. And sometimes it feels like you need to look outside of yourself to find that answer. But in reality, there are many times where you just need to look inside, and you just need to come back to that core, to that grounded place. And for me, going out in nature is always a quick way for me to get to that place, even though that's outside of myself, but it brings me into myself because it's quiet and I can just notice all the sounds and the feeling of maybe the sun or the breeze on my face, and it just makes things simple for me. And so I am so grateful that I can go for a walk and that I can take a moment to breathe and to come back to my center. And then looking at that second reading, go against the grain, basically just do one thing, not try to multitask everything. And I think that I'm guilty of that for sure, multitasking to the point of not getting anything done sometimes. So especially these days when I feel like I have a lot that I want to do, just breaking it down to that, okay, but I'm just going to start this one thing and get into that one thing, do that small task. And I heard myself saying that even to my daughter today because she was a little bit stressed out about some school stuff. And I said, let's do one thing. Just take one small thing, one thing. You have this big list of things, but let's take one small thing. And of course, when I said that, I was like, oh, Heather, let's do that for you too. And I told her, I said, I have a big list and I'm going to focus on one thing too. So we can do this together. So on that note, I was looking through our book, Freedom, the book that my husband and I wrote together, Chris. And I was looking at practice number 12, which is in chapter 7. Chapter 7 is motivating with kindness. And practice number 12 is looking at our threat detecting mind. And I was thinking about how that threat detecting mind kind of has that chaos feeling sometimes, because looking from place to place to place to place, and then like, oh, is there something wrong there? Is there something wrong there I need to pay attention to? Is there something wrong there I need to pay attention to? Where's the place that I need to pay attention? And all these things are like scary. And then looking at how we can come back to the center again from the reading in 40 weeks. So I'm going to go through this with you and maybe kind of role play it a little bit with myself. So practice number 12 is looking at our threat detecting mind. This practice illustrates how our threat detecting mind works. Notice what shows up as you answer these questions. So the first question is, what shows up in your mind when you fail at something that is important to you? What do you say to yourself? And I think that, looking at these words, not even failing, but just not doing what you wanted to do. So for me today, not doing the things that I wanted to accomplish. In my mind, the first thing that came to my mind was, Heather, come on. It's Monday. You got to get going. You had your break on the weekend. What are you doing? You have these things you need to get done. And that's not very compassionate. That's not very kind, but that's what goes on in my head sometimes. What did you spend all this time doing today? Now, the next part of the question is, imagine what you would say to a dear friend who failed at something that was important to them. So if I turned that for myself and I, let's say, was talking to a dear friend of mine and she said, I can't believe that I didn't get these things done. They've been on my list and I have been working towards, doing these 4 things for 2 weeks. How can I not have them done? And then what I would say to that dear friend who had said that to me is, wow, you told me you really slept terribly last night. And you know what? We're all going through a lot right now. So let's break it down a little bit. You are trying your best. You are doing all of these other things. Yes, you may not have gotten those things done that you wanted to get done, but what did you get done? So many things. You've been working constantly. So let's take a step back. You are doing a great job. That feels a lot better. So now notice the difference even between my tone of voice when I first said that first piece that I was saying to myself, and then the second time when I was talking as if I was talking to a friend. My tone of voice changed. I was much softer. I was much more accepting. And that's the inner tone of voice. That critical tone of voice is what we use sometimes when we're berating ourselves. But that gentle tone of voice, that is that loving kindness voice, is what would be wonderful to use with ourselves. And sometimes it's hard to remember that. But if you put yourself in the position of like, ooh, how would I say this to my friend? I need to be a friend to myself right now. I need to comfort myself right now and say, it's okay. You have a lot on your shoulders and you're doing a great job. You may not have had the plan that you wanted to have, but that's okay. Everybody is all right. So, loving, supportive, kind, soothing voice coming towards you is going to be obviously more motivating than that harsh voice coming towards you. So when we take a step back and are able to mindfully observe how we might speak to a dear friend and ourselves, we are able then to choose how we want to show up as we move forward in our lives. It's a difficult shift and one that doesn't happen overnight or easily, but we can make the shift with continued practice. That's the deal, right? Practice, practice, practice. So that's what I'm going to do today. And then we have a quote here in the book from lovely Dr. Kristen Neff. Remember that if you really want to motivate yourself, love is more powerful than fear. And that is what is at the root of that harsh voice, that critical voice, is the fear piece. So really taking into account the love piece and pulling that into yourself when you're feeling like you need a little bit extra. TLC, give it to yourself too, like you would give to a dear friend. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to continue to practice this, and I hope you will join me in practicing it, and I will see you again tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.